we begin with news of a ceasefire that's gone into effect in Nagorno-Karabakh. This after the latest round of clashes in the enclave. Now, Russian peacekeepers reportedly brokered that agreement. It involves Armenian separatists laying down their weapons before reintegration talks begin on Thursday. For more on this story, we can bring in France 24's international affairs editor, Ketevan Gojestani. Ketevan, what more do we know about this ceasefire?
Well, there's been a statement from the separatists in Nagorno-Karabakh, and they basically explained that this was indeed mediated by those Russian peacekeeping forces, and that the agreement was reached for, quote, a complete cessation of hostilities, which kicked off at 1 p.m. local time. Now, in that statement, there's also an explanation from the separatists that they saw this as having no choice but to cease hostilities. That was the wording of the statement, saying that the separatist forces had been trying to prevent Azerbaijan from breaking through their lines, but that Azerbaijan forces broke through the lines and seized a number of strategic road junction while the world stood by. So it seems, according to that statement, that the Armenian separatists felt like there was no way out besides agreeing to that ceasefire because they were not getting help from anyone. They don't mention directly the Russians, but it seems directed a little bit at the Russians. And as you said, there are now going to be talks between the separatists and Azerbaijan on Thursday to discuss talks about what reintegration would mean. And in the statement from the separatist side, it also mentions the protection of the ethnic Armenian population in Nagorno-Karabakh. So this story, of course, developing, but at least for now, there is an official ceasefire in place.
A ceasefire in place. And let's talk about the role of Russia, because we have said that Russian peacekeepers help broker those talks. And what are officials in Moscow saying about all of this?
Well, the Kremlin is reacting a little bit also to the criticism coming from not only the separatists in Nagorno-Karabakh, but also from Armenia itself, that basically the Russians are not doing enough, that they didn't do enough to prevent the situation from happening. Remember that there are 2,000 peacekeepers in that region since the 2020 war, and the Armenian side believes that the Russians did not do enough to prevent these attacks by Azerbaijan, that it didn't do enough. We heard from Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan that Russia didn't really warn Armenia or the Armenian separatists about the movements of the Azerbaijan troops. And so in the statement by the separatists, you see this thing of we were left basically on our own, but now the Russians stepping in, mediating this ceasefire. And this is really a sign of this switching position for the Russians in Nagorno-Karabakh and between Armenia and Azerbaijan. For a long, long time, Russia and Armenia were extremely close. They were strong allies. But it seems in recent years that Russia has started to play a sort of mediating role between Armenia and Azerbaijan, not wanting to pick sides, really. And this has angered the Armenians, who feel that they're left to their own devices because Russia is not intervening strongly enough. We'll see what those talks about reintegration do, and whether the Russians have their say or push one way or another Azerbaijan or Armenia to sort of give in to the situation.